Hey, what's up guys, how's it going? In this video, we're going to build a gallery app with Masonry layout. In the previous videos, we have done the SpaceX clone, we have done the Tesla clone, we have also done the Hulu clone. In case if you haven't watched them yet, you can check them out after watching this video. I will put the links on the description and also on the cards. So in this video, we're going to move our focus more to the JavaScript side from CSS side. So this is the project that we are going to build. You can see that this layout is not your traditional layout. You can see that all of the images are taking different amount of height. And if you use traditional layout, you will see a lot of vertical spaces, and that doesn't look good actually. So if you remove all of those vertical spaces, then you will get this kind of layout. This kind of layout is called Masonry layout. And we will make this layout using a library called Mackie.js. You will see Masonry layouts where a lot of images are displayed. Places like Google Images, Yandex Images. You will also find that on Unsplash. Unsplash is a website where you can get high resolution images for free. If I scroll down, you can see we have similar kind of layout, and all of the images for our application will come from Unsplash API. We will fetch our data with Axios, which is a very popular JavaScript data fetching library. Then we will put those images on our browser screen. So let me give you a quick demo of this application. You can see this is a Masonry layout, and if I hover over any of the images, you can see there is an animation, the image scaled up. And if I scroll down, you can see at this point, there are no more images because this application doesn't have any infinite scrolling or pagination. If you want me to create a video about infinite scrolling, just do let me know in the comment section and I might do a part 2 of this video. So if I scroll to the top, you can see we have an input box and we could search for any kind of keyword. For example, village. And we can see some images of village. And also this website is completely responsive. If I open up the dev tool and if I keep decreasing the width, you can see the website is still looking good. It is still responsive. Alright, so our web page is responsive and this is the project that we are going to build. This is a very good project to brush up your front-end skills. You're going to learn about how to fetch data from third-party APIs. You will learn how to manipulate the DOM, how to add elements, how to remove elements, and so on and so forth. So if you are interested, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel to see more of these project-based videos. And by the way, do you like project-based videos or any specific topic-based videos? Please do let me know in the comment section. So I've talked enough. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so I have this basic HTML file set up. You can see there is a link to the style.css file and also index.js file. And we have basically an h1 with the text of Q's gallery. You can see that has been printed out. And in the style.css file, we have resetted the default style. And we have also imported a font from Google Font. The font name is actually Leto. And we have set the font family Leto, and background is black and color is white, and the outline of input focus will be none. So if you focus on an input element, it will give you an ugly border, so it will get rid of that. And on the index.js, there is nothing. Alright, so first of all, we need to bring some CDN. We need to bring the Axios CDN and the Mackie.js CDN. And this is the CDN.js website, and here is our Axios CDNs. Just copy the axios.min.js script tag and paste it on top of the index.js. And then we need to grab the Mackie.js script tag. Okay, so here is the CDN. Just copy the script tag and again paste it here. And that's it for our script tag. So let's do the markup quickly. It won't be much. So first of all, we're going to create a container with a class of parent. And we will put the h1 inside the parent. And after the h1, there will be a form. And inside the form, there will be two input. First input will have type of text. Name will be search. then placeholder will be search again, and then ID of input, and then we need a submit button. So input with the ID of submit, and type will be submit, and value will be search. Alright, so that's it for the form. And to make that Masonry grid, we have to create another container after the form with the class of grid. I mean, you don't have to make the container class name grid. You can name it whatever you want. You just have to pass that to Mackie.js. We will do that in a minute. So that's it for our markup. And this is what we have for now. Let's apply the CSS really quickly because we're going to focus on JavaScript. So first of all, let's get the h1. Text align will be center. Then margin top will be 5 rem. Then margin bottom will be 2 rem. Then font size will be 3 rem. Now let's select the parent, the container. Let's make width to 90% and margin of 0 for top and bottom, and auto for left and right to ship that in the middle horizontally. Then let's select the form and let's give it a width of 80%, margin of 2 rem, and auto for left and right to move it to the center, and display will be grid, and justify items will be center. Now let's select the input. It has an ID of input, I mean the text box. Let's get the width of 100%, padding of 0.8 rem for top and bottom, and 1 rem for left and right. Then margin top will be 2 rem, and margin bottom will be 1 rem. And now let's just make max width 40 rem so that it doesn't grow too much, and let's make font size to 1 rem. And now let's select the submit button. It has a submit ID. Let's change the background to a hex code FF6100. Now let's get rid of the border, and padding will be 0.8 rem and 2.5 rem for left and right. Then text transform will be uppercase. Then cursor will be pointer, and font weight will be bold, and obviously color would be white. And now let's select the image. I know there is no image in our HTML code, but we will add images through JavaScript, so we need to style them, right? So let's get the image, and width will be 100%, and cursor will be pointer. And also when we will hover over the image, like I've shown you earlier, it will scale up. So image.hover, let's make transform to scale of 1.1, then position relative, and let's increase the z index of whatever, it has to be higher. Now why we increase the z index and make it position relative? so that when we will hover over the image should be in front of other images. And to animate the transform, we need to add transition, and it will be transform, and it will be in 0.5 second. Alright, so our CSS is done. Now let's write the JavaScript code. So first of all, let's get the grid container, document.querySelector grid, and now let's get the input, const input document.getElementById. It has an ID of input. Then let's get the submit button. Again, document.getElementById, which has an ID of submit. Oops, this should be in quotes. Okay, so now let's initialize our Mackie instance. So const Mackie instance. Now we have access to the Mackie function because we have added the CDN, and it takes an object as parameter. By the way, everything is in the documentation, just read from there. And add a property container, it's necessary. Just pass the container for the images. In our case, it is the grid, so I'm just gonna pass the grid. Now you can pass an element directly, or you can pass any kind of selector like classes or ID, whatever. Okay, that's it for our Mackie instance. And now we need images, and they will come from Unsplash. So let's just go to Unsplash. Alright, so this is the Unsplash website for developer. Just go to unsplash.com/developers and create an account. You know how to do that. And after you have created an account, you will see this page, and just go to your apps. And I already have an app. Just click on new app and just check all of this shit and click on accept. And let's just give an application name, and description doesn't matter. And let's create application, and our app is ready. And here is our access key and secret key. Make sure nobody sees your access key or secret key. Don't worry, I'm gonna delete the app after the video, so you will not be able to access that. So you just have to make sure that your access key and secret key remain in environment variable. Okay, so I'm just gonna create another variable here, const key, and I'm just gonna just copy the access key, and I will paste it here. And we also need a URL to send request. I'm gonna store that in a variable. I will call it API URL, and the URL will be https api.unsplash.com. Now when we first visit the page, there are already some images, so we also need to add this feature. Later we will add the search functionality. So first of all, we need to get the images. So I'm going to create a function. I will call it initialize images. It will be an asynchronous function. Now we have added the Axios CDN, right? So we have access to Axios, so which has a get method, because we're going to send a get request. And the first parameter will be the URL, which will be template string. So first drop the API URL variable /photos/ then question mark client ID, and just put the API key, the access key. And then you can optionally pass a parameter which is per page. Now with per page, you can specify how many photos you want. By default, it will give you only 10 images, but if you specify 50, then it will send you 50 images, which I'm going to do. Now to specify another query parameter, you just need to pass an and sign, then per page equals to 50, and that's our URL. And you know that it is an asynchronous process. We have to await that. And also let's store the return value result, and let's just console log the result. And here let's call the initialize image function. Alright, so let's see what we have. Let's open up the div tool. Alright, so we have an error. Error request failed with status code 401. Let's go to the network tab. We have 401 error. The access token is invalid. So let's see what is happening. Okay, so after the client ID, we need to add a equal sign, and this should fix the problem. Alright, so we have a data status of 200. Let's see what we have. Let's open up data, and you can see we have bunch of objects, but the length is 30. I don't know why I asked for 50 images per page, but they are only sending 30, but by default it will only send 10. But that's fine. So let's expand an object. Here you can see we have bunch of data, but we are not interested in them. We are interested in URLs, and in the URLs you have the images source link. You have the full size, you have raw size, regular, small, thumb. We want the regular size. So basically it is inside the data, and data is an array, and the array is full of object. Each object has URLs property, and inside the URLs we have the regular property, which is holding the actual link to our image. So let's just get the image from result. Actually, I'm just gonna use JavaScript destructuring for that. I have a video about it on my channel. You can check that out. I'll put the link on the description. So let's get rid of this result, and we want the data, and the data is our array, and let's rename it to images. So basically we are just pulling the data from the result and renaming it to images, and let's change const to let. And now let's reinitialize the images variable, and we need to loop over the images with map function. Map returns you an array, and we need to store that. It takes a function as the parameter, and the first parameter the function takes is the item, or you can say the image in this case, and we just need to return image, then URLs, then regular. So let's console log the images. Alright, so here is our array with links. Now we need to append image tags in our grid container. So I'm gonna create another function. So const add images in DOM. I know it's a very long name, but it explains what it is doing. Now this function will take a parameter which will be the images, actually the array of strings, and we will loop over the images array with for each function. We need to loop over images, and it will be image. Now inside the grid container, where is it? Here. So this is our grid container. The structure will be like this. We will have another container. It doesn't need to have any class, so it will be like div, and inside the div we will have our image, and the image source will be the link, one of this link from the array. So that will be our structure, and we need to add multiple divs into our grid container. So that is the structure of the grid container. So let's go to index.js, and here first we need to create an empty element, const container. So document dot create element, and we need to create a div, and let's create an image, document dot create element, and the tag will be image. Now let's add the source. Image.src will be image. Oops, sorry, it should be the image tag, img. And now let's add the container, add the image to the container. So container.append, and just pass the image, the image tag, not the image URL. And finally, let's append the container to the grid. So grid.append container. Okay, so now we just need to call the add images in DOM function in the initialize images function. So add images in DOM and just pass the images. Let's delete the console log, and it should work. We should have images. We don't see the image. That's weird. Let's open up the dev tool. Maybe I didn't saved it. Alright, so here you can see the images, but you can see that they are not in Masonry layout because the library has a bug. I didn't find any good solution for that, but it has a solution. I will show you in a minute. So basically at first you don't see the Masonry layout effect, but if you resize the browser window, so let's do that. And now you can see the Masonry grid layout. But at first you didn't see that. I don't know why is that happening. It's definitely a bug. It's not a feature. I hope they will fix that soon. So now that we have the images when we first load the web page, now let's add the search functionality. So I'm just gonna create another function. Const search images, and this will take a parameter. I will call it query, and again we have to make another get request. So axios.get, and again just use a template string and put the API URL, then /search /photos and again our client ID. Again just pass the secret key, and then we need to pass the query parameter. So query will be equals to the query and again per page will be like 50, even though they don't give us 50. I don't know why, but that's fine. And let's store the data. Const this time I'm gonna destructure the response. So basically we have data inside that response, and inside the data we have the results, which is an array of objects that I have shown you earlier in the previous fetching function. Again I'm just gonna rename it to images, and let's make it not const, let. And again we have to map over the image to get the URL. So I'm just gonna copy this line and paste it here, because the structure of the array objects are same. And finally I'm just gonna return images. Then we need to add a event listener for our submit button. So submit btn.add event listener, and we need to listen for click, and then we have to pass a function. I'm gonna call it handle submit. I guess the submit event listener will also work, doesn't matter, they both works fine. So let's create the handle submit function. Again it will be asynchronous. Oops, I made a mistake. The search images function will also be asynchronous, and we also have to await the process. So async, it will take event as parameter. So first of all, we need to prevent the default behavior. So event dot prevent default, so that it doesn't refresh when we will hit the button. Now let's get the query, the query value, the thing that you are going to put in the text box. So I will call it query, and it will be input dot value. And if the query is empty, then we're just gonna return false. Then we're gonna get the images. So const images will be await search images, and we just need to pass the query as parameter or argument. Now when we will first visit the web page, we see some images, right? So that means our grid container will not be empty. So we need to remove all the childs, all the images, so that we can add our new images, the search images, to the grid container. So we need to remove all the children from the container. So I'm just gonna create another function, remove all child, and it will take a parameter. I will call it parent, and we need to use a while loop, while parent dot first child is a truthy value. If it has a first child, that means it is not empty. So we are going to run this loop until it is empty. So parent dot remove child, and we're gonna pass the parent dot first child. Alright, so now let's just call the remove child function and pass the grid container. And now we need to call the add images in DOM function and just pass the images, and we're almost done. So let's save the file. Alright, so let's type something like Norway. Let's hit enter, and as you can see that new images has been added to the DOM. Let's scroll down, and here is our new images, but you can see there is no Masonry grid layout. And if I resize the browser window, and here is our new layout, the Masonry layout. So there is a way to fix that issue. I found that in a issue on GitHub repository. So I went to the issues of the Mackie.js repository. So where is that issue? Where is that? Okay, so this one, grid dimension only calculated on window resize. So I'm not the only one who has this bug. Many people has this, and this guy has a dirty fix. I tried that code and it really worked. So we're gonna do some dirty coding. So let's copy this, and I will paste it right on the top. Actually, we need to call this on every single time when we fetch any kind of data. So I'm just gonna store that in a variable, in a function. I will call it fix startup bug, and inside the function body there will be this dirty code. And let's just call this fix startup bug function on every single time when we fetch the data. So call that in the initialize images function. So fix startup bug. I'll copy this line, and also here handle submit function. I'll call this Alright, so everything should work fine for now. And you can see that we have the Masonry layout right from the start. Our bug has been fixed with some dirty code. Alright, so our project is almost done, but you can see that the images are not looking good. They are so tiny. We can make this layout responsive. So just go to the Mackie instance. So here we can pass some other options. We can pass a break at property, and which will be a object. And here we need to pass some breakpoints. Actually, the breakpoint values will be the property, and the value will be how many columns do you want. So you have to give the max width. So for example, if you want only one column, only if the window size is less than 400, then you just have to give 400:1, and that will do the work. Let's decrease the size more. Alright, so now you can see that it is now only have one column. So that's how you make it responsive. So I'm just gonna paste all of the values. I have tried them out. You can use whatever you want. So these are the values that I'm going to use for responsiveness. So let's change the screen size. Alright, so now it's in one column. Now it's in two column. Now it's in three column. Now it's in 4. Now it's in 5. And it will always be at most 5. So it's really working, and you might have noticed that there is a very few amount of space, so you can also change the margin. So add the margin property, and you can give X value. The X value is the horizontal value. I'm gonna give 15, and Y value will be for the vertical value, and I will also give it 15. Alright, so our images has much more space than before, and also the hovering effect is really looking good. So let's scroll down. Okay, so here is our Masonry layout. Our project is done. If the video has been helpful for you, please like this video. In the next video, we're going to build a simple music player with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Here we can play the song. You will not hear the song because I've muted the audio. And we can also navigate to the next song. We can also navigate to the previous song, so on and so forth. So if you are interested, then subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you will get notified when I'll upload the video. So if you have any question about today's video, or if you have any kind of suggestion, please do let me know in the comment section. And if you have liked this project, you might also like this project. This is a slide-based landing page built with full page JS. So go ahead and check that out.